Think we are live. Yes.
Now
And
we're
we're
live.
live.
Oh, fun.
Sorry,
It's a little
sorry
do-over,
to
I think.
keep everybody waiting. My name is Rachel Martin, and my winery is Oceano Wines. And this is the Oceano Artist Collaboration Series with Cristina Ruales, who is one of my closest longtime friends. Christina's brand, Cristina Ruales, she is a designer, and also she's just amazing mom. And so the Oceano Artist Collaboration Series is all about highlighting artists, because I'm an artist at heart and I see wine as art, and it's the medium in which I choose to express myself. I'm also doing this to support other female business owners, because I believe that we all rise together when we band together, and we're stronger together. So thank you, Cristina, for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here with you and so excited that after all this time, we both actually it ended up being entrepreneurs, having our own company. And it's no accident that I think our ethos align themselves, even though we've been in and out of contact throughout our lives. I think that in the end, everything works out. And I think that I love the fact that you're also helping to empower people, and collaboration and cross pollinating is a huge part of what I've been doing with the voice that I've been able to have within my industry. And I've tried to blend different industries together the whole time that I've had that ability. And for those of you who don't know me at all, I thought I would sort of start by giving you a little background about myself by showing you this quick sort of sizzle reel of the last fashion show I had in New York Fashion Week, which you'll see don these dresses that we're wearing today.
It's pretty awesome. And I just want to remind everyone to comment, because we'd love to have your questions and answer them. We like an interactive space. So here's the reel.
Take my hand and come with me, because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I said, are you gonna be my girl?
Whoa, that was pretty awesome, Cristina. I love how you blend so many different things together, like having the dancers. And when we were growing up, we were kind of in the punk rock scene, and just being outside of your typical norm. And I see so much of that in your work.
Thanks. Well, what's funny is I won't talk about it for too long, but I totally forgot. So the whole all of the whole collection of anything I've done, all the collections, they're inspired by art. The whole ethos and the idea is architecture versus nature. And so it's sort of, the idea is that all the fabrics are either natural or technical, and sports related in some way because of my background in my mountain climbing in Ecuador and growing up with parents like that. And then I basically, all of the prints are painted. And so the idea is that they're unique. This print was painted in our studio, but it was inspired by Gerhard Richter, and sort of the architecture and how the clothes are actually made. 80% of them don't have a regular side seam or a normally placed side seam. And that's sort of just kind of my brainy side of the artistic side of the sculpture side of my fashion that has always been the case since I was a student. So, and the whole collaboration theme there, if you see at the very end, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without all my sponsors and all the artists that I collaborated with, you know, from hair to makeup to photography, everybody, you know, it takes a village to make something like that happen.
Right. Yeah. And what year? I'm sorry if you said this already, but what year was that? Like the collection?
Honestly, I can't tell you off the top of my head right now. I want to say it was 2018, 2017. And this collection actually never got to see, the light of day because I had to leave New York City, for personal reasons to keep like my kids and family safe. We came to Connecticut, and it wasn't until now that I can get back onto it. And so I'm actually hoping to be able to sort of pick up where I left off and eventually produce that collection.
Well, I have to say, like, I'm wearing a piece right now, and it's just like so gorgeous and
Thank you.
comfortable, and like hot and sexy, but sophisticated at the same time. I mean, this is totally a dress for me, but anyway, I just love your work.
So thank you. Like the idea, which sometimes maybe went too far, but I don't know. It's about like my idea of feminism and what is beautiful, what makes us beautiful, what makes us feel beautiful and good about ourselves. And that's the empowering side of fashion, because fashion can seem like such a petty thing. Like, why would I give up time with my family, my kids, to continue my passion in fashion? And I think when, as women, we all come to a crossroads of like career versus motherhood. Can we have it all? And I think it's sort of like, so I don't know anybody that doesn't go through it, whether you choose to have children or not. And if you're someone that has like really dedicated their life to their passion, like I have, and many people have, or if you stumbled upon it late in life, whatever the case may be, um, I think we all feel like it has to be something important, and
Absolutely.
so for me, like fashion can be quite important. I think that today, for example, with the pandemic, I don't feel that great about myself constantly in like sloppy clothes and not having sort of a reason to put myself together. I joked doing some videos of the DIY studio that I wear lipstick while I'm learning to use a
Yeah, I love
sawzall.
that. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, I mean, you definitely like break that mold of like, oh, I'm a woman, so it's to be like feminine and I can't use power tools or whatever. No, like you see something, a need, and you get it done. And I highly respect that. Like it doesn't,
Thanks.
gender shouldn't be part of that equation, and somehow like whatever, it became that way. And I'm definitely committed to breaking that stereotype too.
Absolutely. And I think that like to comment about your dress, it's like for me, I'm not saying I don't like form-fitting dresses, and they don't, and I'm not saying I haven't designed them or I won't, but sort of when you start off, you want to make a certain statement. And my statement was like, I think we can all be sexy in a different way. And maybe it's a little bit of a backlash attitude that I have against like all social media over sexualizing women, and somehow teaching children and young women especially, and the young men, that is the norm, that now, um, women show themselves in ways that like would have been in like a Playboy magazine, and you would have had to be 18 years old to buy one, and now like social media shows images like that on a regular basis.
Well, that's definitely an issue, especially with younger kids and having kids and trying to figure out how to like manage that. And so, yeah, I totally hear it. I mean, in my industry, in the wine industry, sexualization with alcohol beverages has like since like day one, and but seeing more women who own their own businesses or who are, in positions of power, we'll start to break that down. Eventually it will happen.
Right. So, like your dress, for example, it has a sheer, big, pretty large panel in the back that shows your back, and it's short.
It is
And
short. And that's
yeah,
what I like about it,
right,
honestly. I mean, you can't really
right.
see it, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's a mini dress, but it's like, I mean, you're wearing a runway piece, so it's actually even shorter on the models. But the idea is that like I'm not against showing these, we go to the gym or whatever. I'm not saying like whatever, but it's more about, do we have to show everything at once, and isn't a little bit of mystery kind of sexy, and isn't like humor and our intelligence and like what we have to say really the beauty that we bring to the world beyond our outside? And that's not to say that I don't care what I look like on the outside, but I think that ultimately how I behave and the example that I give my children is the most important thing,
Uh, yeah, awesome. Well, your children have been, they're such an important part of your life, and they've been at your shows, and I have a couple pictures that I'd love to show that demonstrate that.
Sure.
So,
Right. So,
and
I'm one of those career women. I never planned on being a stay-at-home wife. And I really focused. I went to Parsons, and then I went to Yale, and that took a lot of effort and time and money. And I am one of those people that, our industry requires, on average, I don't know, a 12-hour day is a good day, is a short day, a normal day. 8-hour days don't really exist in my industry. And I have no problem with it because I love what I do. So I get lost in it. And how I tried my best, and I think I succeeded in involving my kids. And by
yeah,
having my own company, I had the opportunity to involve them more and more. And when they would come out of school, they would come and hang out in the studio. In New York, everyone that worked with me knows them, and then, as they like to say now, they got to, walk the runway with me, the times that I was lucky enough to be a part of New York Fashion Week. And I think, in a way, it's my version to them of what my mom did for me, which was to put me literally on the high peaks of mountains when I was that age, the age that they are there, and that I got to climb in Ecuador, where I'm from, where I looked down upon clouds, like physically looking down below my feet at a very young age, down on clouds. And I, till this day, believe that those experiences are what made me feel like I could do anything, which a lot of times, people are discouraged at a very young age to have big dreams, to have, crazy dreams, like having your own this or doing that. And I think that it's really important that we say yes, like anything is possible. And honestly, if I can do it, I don't come from money. I come from like, regular parents. My mom was a widow and a single mom for a while, and, and remarried, and,
well, I was going to say that this picture actually really reminds me of your mom.
Thanks. She's the best. I mean, honestly, it might be an unpopular thought, but if we all have one person in our life, like one adult that is great and champions us, we'll be okay. You know what I mean? Some people get two, not everybody does. But if you just have one, whoever that person is, whether
Yeah.
it's a parent or somebody else, a mentor, I think, we can break glass ceilings, we can make things happen. And the more we help each other, the better. So when you see that video, I was remembering my son really loved David Bowie, and David Bowie passed that year. So I don't know if you get it, but the makeup is sort of a combo platter
So
of like the
incredible.
Prince and David Bowie since he had died. So that, so I
And,
mean, it's weird, huh?
I'd love to just touch a little bit on like how you got to, your own line and your own brand. Like,
Oh, right.
how did you start out?
So I went to Parsons after 11th grade. And because I was punk like you were, and women were not punk, Rachel and I were the only two. This collection was after Parsons and after Yale. And I went to Yale and I was doing costume design for theater and film. And then Ecuador had its sort of Great Depression during the dollarization, and everyone went bankrupt. And I thought I wanted to create jobs there. So I went there, and knitting was what they do, amongst other things, manualidades, which are like things by hands that they do really well. And so I focus on knitwear. And that on the screen is a little screenshot of what would be in like my portfolio that shows the collection that I launched with. And that was launched at Barney's New York and Barney's Japan, I believe. It was sort of a very quick, more of a success than at the time I really realized, to be quite frank, because I was quite young.
Well, I had a couple pieces from that collection for sure.
Yeah.
And I still do. And I love them. And I'm speaking of your hats with the
Thanks.
paillettes, and also your sweaters, but I still wear your hats and people are just like, where did you get that? Like, they're gorgeous, amazing statements.
Thank you.
And they're fun at the same
Right.
time.
Well, I mean, I think that it says it on my website. It's like, life is hard, like look at what we're going through now. If we don't have a sense of humor about things, I think that like I would be a really depressed person. So I think like the sense of humor is how I cope. And there's always some sense of humor in something and everything I do. So like the dress that I have, it has like this thick elastic here, but on this side it's a ruffle, right? But at the time, everyone was ruffling, ruffle, 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 and mine is like backless.
Nice.
But it was like, okay, I'll give you a ruffle, but I'm going to give you an asymmetrical ruffle. And, it's just like, I think it's my humor and my rebellious. And that's my hashtag is like, celebrate your individuality. And I think that we're all told to be the same and to follow this person and that person. And the big saying I say all the time to my kids is, we're not followers, we're leaders in this house. And I just feel that if we were all encouraged a little bit to be that way, then we would all accept our differences a little better, because we don't need to all be the same. We don't all need to think the same. We don't need to agree with each other, and I think that we just need to respect each other.
Totally. So let's talk about your masks.
Yeah. So the kids, are kind of, the vein of my existence, and no matter what, they will always go, above my career, be more important. And they're, us being in a safer, better environment brought us away from where I was having sort of the success of my life. And I would never do it any other way. I'll do anything for my kids. And so when the pandemic started, I was actually working for a hot second, I guess, at one of the resorts around here that's really beautiful as a buyer. And they wanted masks because I started right as the pandemic had started. So we were sent home and we were going to buy masks for the boutique. And I went into this deep dive into global masks, like what masks are out there. What, if I have power over this boutique and I want the best masks in the world for our clients and our guests, what would that be? And I went nuts and I did a PowerPoint. And anyway, I was educated very quickly about the safety of N95s, and there really weren't any for children. And none of the masks that were available had filters that were not really bulky. And if you have to wear them all day long, it's quite a challenge. So I thought to myself, how am I going to sleep at night and be okay if I, let's say, even go to work and my kids are just living their lives, even with one person, even if it's just a nanny, a babysitter, childcare provider, like how am I going to be able to like just function? I think that worry and stress for the safety of our loved ones is a huge factor in our lives. And so I made a phone call to my factory in New York, who made a lot of my clothes. And anyway, they were doing antimicrobial masks for FEMA, as most factories were in New York, which is PPE. And I'll wear mine now as you're wearing yours.
I want a model.
So Rachel has one that says smiling inside right next to the logo. And I'm wearing the non-logo one, sort of the cleanest you can get. And Rachel's wearing the smiling inside.
So everyone knows.
Yeah, and they're made in New York.
Smiling inside. Yeah.
And that's the same factory did my runway, which also does helmet laying. And they have a cotton lining inside that's jersey, but it is treated with antimicrobial silver lining. And you can, honestly, you'll smell it a little bit when you first put it on. And then you tell me, Rachel, like, do you get used to it? Does it bother you?
Oh, it doesn't bother me at all. No. Right. And then after, like, how many wears before you hand wash it?
So it only lasts 99.9% against germs, which would be the flu and COVID, for 15 hand washes. So when you order one of these, which you can either on Facebook, which is Cristina Ruales Co. without an H, or on my website, www.cristinaruales.com, then you get your mask in the mail, in like a bag like this. This is a kid one that also says smiling inside in gray. And you get the little card that, I tell people just take a picture of it, because in order for it to fit in the bag, it's small. And it has all the technical information, which basically says, like, get the mask, tie it to your size, snip it, whatever. And then that's your mask. And I tell people, like, hang it like this. You shouldn't be touching the dirty outside than the inside. The inside is the part that's got the sort of superpower in, which is equivalent to N95, and replaces it with a really thin fabric, soft. I have a yoga instructor that's wearing it. I'm just getting the word out there, honestly. So it's hard when you're homeschooling kids, like, 3 days a week. Yeah. And it's hard to.
Well, it's an amazing, like, gift for your friends and family. And for those, like, under $50 gifts you're supposed to give everyone, this mask definitely falls into that.
Thank you.
And then I also want to say that Cristina and I are offering a discount for masks and wine if you follow us on Instagram at Cristina Ruales Co. and at Oceano Wines, and like both of our pages on Facebook, Cristina Ruales Co. and Oceano Wines. we see you do all 4, and we'll be in touch with a discount offer for you for mass and wine. Amazing.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I sorry to interrupt. I think that it's really, really important that everyone wear a mask that they can actually feel protected in. The hashtag is smiling inside, just because I feel like we all had to learn to read eyes, and we, need to cope and try to find our joy within within the isolation that we're all experiencing. Like, how do we become our own best friend again? How do we do all of that? And so it's my contribution and my patriotism, even though I'm Ecuadorian and I'm an American citizen, we need to buy American made products, and that will cost more because we have an hourly rate minimum that is 100 times that of China, literally. So I think that, we need to put our money where our mouth is. If we want to support local businesses, make more jobs in America, do all of those things, then it's gonna cost. I've been to China 20 times at least throughout my career. I have nothing against it. I have amazing Chinese producers, but right now is when we need to focus on giving jobs here in the United States. And your wine, Rachel, is here made in America.
Of course. Great. Well, Cristina and I are going to collaborate on some packaging for our wine. So that's the next step for our collaboration. And we'll be back to tell you more about that once we have it produced. But Christina's done a lot of collaboration as well. And I'm going to show you a little sizzle reel on that. Is that great? Is that cool, Cristina?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Anyway, I thought that was really awesome.
That was like a lucky moment, because the minute that the women hit the stage, which was the street, which was right outside the Flatiron building, actually, and it's ironic, that was about, I don't know, 5 years ago, and now, like, I think Alice and Olivia did the same thing this season, so I felt flattered by that. I love dance.
Head of the curve, girl.
I think I was one of the first to put ballerinas down the runway. Besides, back about 15 years ago, I saw someone do dance, one of my mentors in fashion. And I think that there's something to be said about going beyond models, and it's not easy because they're not shaped how our industry teaches us to do, like sampling and everything else. But I love it. I love that all the dancers pretty much that I worked with, and we picked dancers from all over New York City, are professionally modeling, are dancing, are doing fashion shows all the time, they're brand ambassadors now. And when I was doing it, it was considered like maverick and kind of like weird. And it's only a matter of time where we all realize that any opportunity that we have, like you're doing, to have an audience shouldn't be alone.
Right. Yeah. And you know what, even though like social media can be like negative and everything, at least we have a platform where we can be together and connect with other people and talk about things that matter, but also just, exposure, highlight each other, let us know, what each other are doing and contribute positively back into society. So this is a series that I'm doing, and I'll have other artists on. Next week, I'll have ceramicist Camille Morin, Be Pottery, and also Amanda Lahoyak from the Whole Ox in Marshall, Virginia. She's a butcher, and I believe that to be an art as well, and something that maybe less people even think about, than what's behind a bottle of wine. So,
Absolutely.
so really
And
super.
Rachel, thank you
Woo!
for my
Yeah,
awesome
so I sent
bottles.
Christina,
This is my gift.
oops, there we go. I sent Christina 2 different sizes because we're going to be doing packaging together and I want her to understand like what the bottles look like. And then, of course, I want her to drink the wine that's in it. So you can actually take the wine out of it and still do packaging for it. So,
Yes, absolutely. So
yeah.
I get to win-win. And I just want to say thank you so much, Rachel. And when I was right before I had to stop what I was doing, I was literally like kind of right in a very big moment for my business. And I started to do a series similar to what you're doing, but I was doing it alone. So this has inspired me to ask Rachel to join me on the first part series that I think it's about a 5-part series, but it's going to be more in depth, and hopefully people will want to talk to us and hear us. But it's really about confidence is what we're going to start with. But it's just I hope that you guys are inspired to connect with your people, and that just know, excuse me, just know that like whatever you're dreaming, whatever you're thinking you want to do, honestly, do it. It's possible
Do
as
it.
long as you just try. The first step is to try.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I did.
Yep, me
You
too.
know?
So
Yeah.
thank
So thank
you.
you everyone for joining us. This will live on Facebook, on YouTube,
Yes. Don't
and
forget your masks.
oh yeah, don't forget your masks. Please wear your masks so that we can all
This one
be.
goes over your nose very comfortably, and even with glasses. And you'll be safe. So when those like people that are non-compliant come near you, you won't have a heart attack. And
But
especially for your kids. And in kids, just so you know, before we go, I have them in the charcoal and the yellow. And if we do well, we're going to introduce other colors. All right.
Nick is saying that he'd love to have both of us on his veteran marketplace with Bunker Labs, and we work in. Nick, we'd love to be there. So let's definitely talk about that in the future. So
Awesome.
we're signing off, everyone. Thanks again. Thank you,
Bye.
Christina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy Hanukkah.